way this just happened, as I don't think anyone could have foreseen this result happening in this game. There's a lot of projections and a lot of, predictions coming into this one. Nobody saw this exact result coming. We're going to break it all down in this live post-game edition of Rangers Digest. Thank you everyone for tuning in. We see the comments already. People are mad. We get it. We're going to dive into things. I'm going to be that guy right off the bat here. There's some things to like in this game. I have to be honest. There's a couple things to like, but I'm nitpicking things. We'll get to those things. But Bret, how did we feel about the home opener? Vibes were very high for like 15 minutes there at the start of the game. Everyone was back into it. Rangers hockey was back, and we're like, hey, we don't know what this is going to look like. This should be fun. It wasn't. It wasn't fun, and Igor looked good. But otherwise, what do you think of the game? Obviously, we'll get into the nitty-gritty. We'll get into everyone in the chat. Shout out to everyone in the chat so far. But season openers come and gone, and 3-0 loss to the Pittsburgh Penguins.
You could change the freaking coach. You could change the freaking jerseys, but what does not change is the result. I mean, what a freaking disaster, bro. That was putrid. That was a snooze fest. That was everything not what we were looking to see from the Rangers on opening night. I said Judgment Day was tonight. I said, Rangers had a nice offseason, not any drama. They made a splashy signing. They traded away Chris Kreider, Keanu Miller, made JT Miller captain, brought in the two-time Stanley Cup winning head coach who has a history here with the Rangers. And Judgment Day came and gone, and it's the same old story with the Rangers. Just an absolute snooze fest. Not much to like. I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on what was so good about this game, because not a lot to like here, Darius, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's two things that went wrong to me tonight, and that was the whole story of the game. And a lot of people are going to be nitpicky on certain players, and I see it in the chat already with the fourth line. I don't think you lost this game because of the fourth line. I have to be honest. There's two things that I think lost you this game. The turnovers in the defensive zone, not being able to move the puck out. And James hit it on the head right there in the chat just now. Nobody went to the net. I was screaming at my TV all night. All perimeter play. All of it was perimeter play and throwing pucks to the net. At Shelov's, who's a good goalie, credit where credit's due. A lot of people think he's just an AHL guy. He's a good goalie. There's a reason the Pittsburgh Penguins went out and got him. The defense looked horrible, especially that second pairing with Soucy and Borgen. No idea. Like, we have a large sample size that pairing doesn't work on another team. Why are we trying it here, first of all? And it was nobody went to the net. I was screaming at my TV. The best chance they had all night, Bret, Will Cooley, Goldberg speared Shelov's into the net, and I forget who it was. I think it was Mika Zibanejad. Just missed it over the net. It was Mika, actually. Just chipped it over the net. That was the best chance of the night, and absolute disaster otherwise. So we'll see what game 2 brings, but holy smokes, like, you got to score a goal
let
there.
me tell you, man, sorry to cut you off there,
Yeah,
but
go
the
ahead.
Rangers' best chance of the night actually was the Penguins almost putting the puck between their own pipes. I mean, come on, let's be honest. Bernick, this guy, come on, almost put the puck past Slivas. I mean, what a disgrace. What a disaster of a game this was. I mean, the Penguins were running two teenagers out there on their first line. They were running out an ancient Sidney Crosby, who the broadcast couldn't tell us enough about Sidney Crosby, as if we haven't seen this player for the last 2 decades. We understand how great Sidney Crosby is, believe me. But they got these two teenagers out there on their first line. They got Slivas. This, I know you say he's a good goalie here, but come on. This guy was not good last year. You look at him and played in like 10, 12 games, whatever it was, 8-something save percentage, over 3 goals allowed. I mean, this is unacceptable, Darius. The Rangers, if they can't beat Slivas, I mean, this isn't prime Marty Brodeur in the Eastern Conference Final. This isn't Jonathan Quick, with the Los Angeles Kings going up against us. This is Slivas, whatever his name is. This was not a good brand of hockey. All 3 zones. There's a lot to nitpick. We're going to get into it here. We'll pull up the box score. Don't worry about it. Hopefully you guys in the chat will update us, what Mike Sullivan is saying post-game, what some of these players are saying post-game. Make sure you leave it in the chat, because we are not currently watching. We are live streaming right now, so we don't have it up. But let us know in the comment section. But like I said, I mean, they made Slivas look like a brick wall. Only the Rangers could do that. A lot of perimeter play, like you said, Darius.
Yeah, and the Penguins played a very professional game. Like, it just felt like they were very prepared for whatever the Rangers were going to bring to them. And again, a lot of perimeter play. I also want to say, it's not time to panic yet. Like, this is not what this team is. They need to still gel a lot of the lines. And I think that, if you look at a lot of other teams around the league, Brett, in terms of preseason, they had at least 2 games, a majority of teams, not all teams, but at least 2 games where they had their entire lineup intact, what was going into the regular season. The Rangers never had that, not once, the whole preseason, right? And you're missing guys, like Panarin was barely around because of injury. JT Miller got hurt, right? Like, and both of those guys specifically look really slow tonight. Like, they just looked out of sorts. So hopefully they get going. They're going to need Panarin to get going. Like, he's got to get going, or this is going to go downhill very quickly. So, banking on that. But both those guys look kind of slow. I like Noah Laba's game, right? There's a couple guys like Connor Sheary, been dogging on him for the last week. He had a good game. He did. And he looked good defensively as well. Just my opinion. We'll see what happens in the chat. But a lot of great points in the chat as well. A lot of people don't like Sheary, right? And I think Mark brings up a good point. Yeah, give them a few games to, get a feel for the system, because it did look different. Like, this game did look different than last year in a couple of ways. They did look more aggressive on the forecheck at times. Carson Soucy is a problem. Like, we're going to talk about this all year. He is a problem if he continues to play this way. There was a couple of times he just bailed on the puck. Like, this is the first game of the year. I can't understand it, but I'm not going to get so worked up. It's game 1. We got time. But I'll freak out in March if they're in a playoff race again. But at times it did look, a little tough. And one person I want to touch on, because I really like this game away from the puck, and I don't know if you saw it too, Brett, Alexis Lafreniere. Like, I thought he looked really, really good tonight. I know he didn't score, but he had some jump. He was throwing the body. Like, if he gets engaged, he'll get going this year. He also got some time on power play 1. We talked about it earlier today. That didn't last long with Trocheck. You called it earlier today as well. So any thoughts on that? Because we're going to get to that Canucks Digest in just a second. But there's a couple guys that look bad, but I think, credit where credit's due. Like, a couple guys look good even though they didn't score, and I think Lafreniere was also one of them.
Yeah, Lafreniere looked good. He had some jump to his game. Like you said, was throwing the body around, had a lot of shots on goal, wasn't able to get one between the pipes. But like you said, good stuff from Lafreniere. Looked very engaged. Carson Soucy, the complete opposite, like you said. I mean, the guy looks like a snail out there. He just looks like this big fossil. Doesn't really have much of a game out there. He's physical, but not physical enough, Darius. I mean, the Rangers were physical tonight. That was a lone bright spot, in my opinion. I mean, we got the stats. I mean, Pittsburgh won basically, every category. Like I said, they're running 2 teenagers out there, yet they looked more professional. That was a perfect word you used, Darius. They looked professional. They looked buttoned up out there. And this is a team, I understand they have, the trio of Letang and Malkin and Crosby, but, a lot of young guys on this team. I mentioned it, the 2 teenagers on that first line, but they looked buttoned up and prepared. They looked ready. They weren't overwhelmed by the atmosphere, and the atmosphere was never able to really get into it. You heard Mike Sullivan's pregame speech. I mean, that was a perfect speech. I mean, you saw him walking out of the tunnel onto the ice. Gave me goosebumps. I mean, it was unbelievable watching Mike Sullivan, enter the rink. And like I said, gave the perfect pregame speech to get the guys going, but they looked a step slow, Darius. You said it. They looked a step slow. I know Panarin and JT still getting back into the flow, still getting their legs underneath them. But man, JT, it's concerning. I don't know how much the injury is affecting him, but he was non-existent out there. At least Panarin, you heard his name quite often. JT, this wasn't the JT that we were accustomed to last season.
No, 100%. And a lot of people are already putting in the chat, the third line would look a lot better. Like, Taylor Radish also looks horrible. Like, I was willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. Awful tonight. Absolutely awful. I have no idea how that third line is going to survive the way it is. Like, they got chances. Sheary actually looked good, and Lapa was skating well and trying to, keep the play alive. And again, you guys in the chat, like, you guys are nailing it. Like, JTB right there, third line would look better with a couple guys from the Wolfpack, like maybe even Perreault, just give like a little bit of like scoring. I get the whole defensive and being responsible defensively thing. Leave Sheary there, bring up Perreault, let him play right wing, man. Like that, I really don't know what the answer is here at this point, and it seems a bit ridiculous. It's game one, right? I do want to get into a quote here from Mike Sullivan, and this is why I love these post-game streams, because we get to break this stuff down in real time. This just came out from Molly Walker. You're gonna love this one, Brett. Direct quote from Mike Sullivan. Well, I think my first observation of tonight is we got a long way to go to become the team we want to become. That is a tough quote on day one. Although I love the transparency. It's better than, hey, I thought we played well and we just came out the other side of it and stuff like that. So what do you make of that quote? Because to me, I think that's a shot in the pants, right? That's a kick in the pants, I think, to a lot of guys. And it's true. It is true at the end of the day. So what do you make of that?
I mean, couldn't be any more blunt, couldn't be any more direct, couldn't be any more correct either. I mean, this team does have a long way to go. I mean, let's be honest. I will take a glass half full approach in the sense that, the Rangers played the exact same team last year on their home ice and they beat them down bad. 6-0 tonight. Rangers, look slow. They don't look engaged. They don't look like they really care. Lose 3-0. The two empty netters making Brazeau look unbelievable. I mean, making Justin Brazeau look like, the next coming. I mean, really. So the Rangers do have a long way to go. And, they mentioned in the broadcast, and we've said it here on the channel that, the top six, I mean, let's be honest, the top six, they got a lot of pressure on them. They have a ton of pressure on them to produce because you alluded to it just a second ago. The bottom six, Darius, we are going to be talking about this on a daily basis. We will be uploading videos every day like we always do. And I'm sure that the bottom six will be in the conversation for a majority of those videos because where is the goal scoring coming from, Darius? I understand, like you said, having that responsible bottom six, having a two-way type of bottom six, but where in the world is the scoring coming from? You saw what happened tonight when JT was a step slow, when Panarin was a step slow. These guys are not getting any younger. They are all over the age of 32. They are bound to have some injuries. They are bound to deal with some stuff this season. We already saw it before game one. We saw it in the preseason. It's going to continue to happen. Who's going to be next? Mika's going to be next. It's a tough sport. It's going to happen. So they need to get some contributions from the bottom six. And guess what? Mike Sullivan, he's got to have a short leash. He's got to have a quick plug. If they're not getting that scoring, like I forgot who said it in the chat about getting somebody from the Wolfpack, but that's a good point. They may need a shot in the arm because you can't put all this pressure on Noah Laba. We have to remember, guys, we have to remember that he is just a rookie. He is just a rookie. We can't rely on him entirely to carry the bottom six. It's not fair to him. It's not fair to the fans. The Rangers need to have a better answer than that, Darius.
Yeah, they do. And I mean, it's unfair to, if this continues long term, Noah Laba, like you said, right? But it's, again, it is game one. I'm trying not to get too worked up, but there's a couple things that you're already seeing that you're like, what are we doing here? These are things that we've been talking about for a long time. I do want to get to a couple comments first. A lot of you guys in the chat here tonight. Appreciate all of you for tuning in. And shout out to all 70 of you who are watching live right now. Appreciate that. First post-game live stream, but let's get into a couple comments. The one that you were alluding to, by the way, is from JTB. He also said that Miller looked hurt. I would kind of agree with that. At certain times, he did not look like himself, the JT that we saw last year. Allison, also a familiar face. A lot of familiar faces in the chat here from the summer. What do you think the Rangers need to do differently in the next game? I don't mean to be that guy, but score a goal probably. Otherwise, they get the, put your head down, get to work, play a little bit more physical. And a couple of the guys just looked like they were sleeping, but play with some more speed. Brad, I don't know if you had any comment to that, but Katie also says like, share, and subscribe. Appreciate that as well because saw you in the summer as well. A lot of familiar faces, but what do the Rangers need to do differently next game? Because to me, it's just crash that net, put the puck in the back of the net. That's all they were really missing tonight. Besides the turnovers, there's a lot of sloppy play. I think that'll kind of subside to a degree, but you got to get to the net and put that puck in the back of the net.
I mean, a lot, Darius. That's what they need to do better next game. Thank you for the great question, Allison and Katie. Thank you for the shout out in the chat. We do recognize you guys from the summer, from those live streams. And like Darius said, they will be back. Look forward to these post-game live streams. We're going to get back into a rhythm here, back into a groove. And hopefully the next live stream we do, it will be after a W. So we'll see what happens there.
Right.
But the Rangers, like you just said, Darius, they need to attack. They did not put enough pressure on the Penguins tonight. A lot of perimeter play. You know why Slivas had such an easy time tonight? You know why, even though the Rangers got 25 or 26 shots, whatever it may be, it felt like there were no second chance opportunities for the Rangers tonight. Everything was one and done. When on the other side of the puck, the Penguins, even if you don't recognize some of these names, from line to line, from shift to shift, they were engaged, they were connected, they were buttoned up, they were cool, calm, and collected in a what was supposed to be a raucous environment. But the Rangers, unfortunately, never gave the fans, that opportunity to really get rowdy. So, in terms of the next game, what the Rangers have to do is they have to apply pressure. We keep talking about that north to south style of play, but guess what, guys? It all starts with the captain, and the captain looks wounded right now, so somebody else has to step up. Who is it going to be? Who is going to be the guy to step up? We speak about Noah Laba. He's got a good north to south style of game, but like I said, you can't rely on this rookie to do it all. It can't just be JT Miller, the only guy playing that aggressive north to south style of hockey, because when he's impaired, we need somebody else to step up, and we need to spend more time in front, in the net front. As simple as that. Create those second chance opportunities, deflect some pucks, get off of the perimeter. Everything's a one-timer, everything's a wrist shot. We got to get in front of the net, get to the blue paint, to the net front, and cause chaos. We did not do it enough tonight. The second period, Mika had a golden opportunity, wasn't able to find the back of the net. I don't forget who it was on Pittsburgh, but one of their younger guys came in and made a nice play on Mika, but it was a golden opportunity. Looked like there was a lot of net available in period 2 on that play to tie the game. Never happened. But to put a bow on it, just apply more pressure, spend more time in the net front and near the blue paint. Because the Penguins did it tonight. They were able to get one across Igor,
Yep.
despite how great he played. But the Rangers just keep applying pressure. We did not see it enough tonight.
Yeah, you need to drive that net, and you have a couple guys like Will Cooley that can do stuff like that. You have a couple big bodies in the lineup, honestly, at the forward position. And as you can see, I popped up on the screen as you were talking about, Bret. This is what I call the impact score chart. You can see it beside us here for every game. So statistic, or analytically, I should say, this is from, they pull it from Natural Stat Trick, and it's from Hockey Stat Cards. You can find them on Twitter. They post them for every game, after every single game. So analytically, Will Cooley was actually the worst player on the ice tonight for the New York Rangers. Do with that information what you will. And Will Borgen was the best. So I just like looking at these sometimes because, it really tells a story of certain players and what they did offensively versus defensively, different situations in the game, PK, power play, stuff like that, how they affected the offense and defense versus for themselves individually in the game versus the team and stuff like that as well. So I always like taking a look at these. I do want to get to some comments as well, because there's a common theme here in the chat, Bret, and that is bring the kids up. And we've been saying it for a while as well. So from Travis, tank for McKenna. It's a little early for that, but I think there's a real possibility. I saw a New York Rangers on Twitter during the game. It was only 1-0. I saw a New York Rangers edit of Gavin McKenna, like him in a jersey. So it's that's a little early, I think, for that. So we'll see what happens. That for real says they should not have been this bad. WTF was that? I could agree. Victor says third and fourth line won't produce. It's not hard for other teams to defend. If they keep playing the way they played tonight, I would agree. Everything was off the rush. None of it was dirty. They have to get to the dirty areas like you were talking about. For real also said that he's barfing on the ice. And then the common theme comes in, bring up the kids. Even Bret Berard is better than Mika. I think Bret Berard should be on this team. We've talked about it, the last week or so. People want like a new kid line with Laba, and that's from Mark, Laba, Perreault, and Berard. I don't know about that per se, but I do think that, Berard should be on the team, at least in my eyes, and same with Laba. So even if they had like a line of Laba, Berard, and Sheary, I think that would be better than what we have right now, but as a third line at least. KD saying feels like a rebuild year. Guys, it's the first game. It's the first game. Let's talk after game 2. We'll talk after game 2, but yeah, lots in here. Mika can't buy a goal. He had a couple chances tonight. He wasn't really skating well, but it is what it is. Power play also didn't look that great. Want your thoughts on that as well, Bret, because we talked about that earlier today. But Friel says, I ain't feeling this team. We picked up right where we left off. a lot of people are feeling that tonight, and I think it's just because it was a bad game. But I did see some differences in a few things. The forecheck at times looked a lot better. Last year was non-existent. So, Chris says slow, boring, so usual. Shut out by a no-name rookie. Complete domination by Pittsburgh. Embarrassing first game. Embarrassing effort. Miller non-existent. Panarin looks like garbage. Well, it is the first game. I do think he might be still injured. Like these guys, they were out the whole last half of the preseason, so I wonder if they're still dealing with something. But very interesting. What are your thoughts on let's get to the power play. I'll keep this chart up for the time being so everyone who's coming in can view it. But what do you think of the power play? I didn't think it was that good. And then that whole experiment where Lafreniere is on the second unit, that lasted maybe half a power play. Like it was right back to the first unit and Trocheck was off, kind of like we were talking about. So what did you make of that? I didn't like it, but again, one game, small sample size, but wasn't a big fan.
Darius, power play wasn't good. Power play was not good. And, off that first power play, I mean, the Rangers just never got set, never got anything going. And, to make matters worse, just off of what you said before, Kyle Connor looks like he's re-signing in Winnipeg. So just to make matters worse, I had to see that tweet.
Yeah.
Elliot Friedman tonight, so that stinks. Looks like a lot of guys are flying off the board, but the power play did not look good. And the first guy that I looked to, Darius, was Braden Schneider, because we were talking about it. We were talking about it yesterday. We were talking about it today. Is Adam Fox going to have to play the entire power play with the first unit and the second unit? Because, Braden Schneider didn't look comfortable. Did not look comfortable on the first go around as the quarterback. I know it's game one. I know he's just coming back. But guys, come on. Training wheels have to come off. This guy's been here for half a decade. I like Braden Schneider, but he did not look comfortable with the puck. I've said it, Scott Morrow. This kid has some experience in the league. He played on a very good Carolina Hurricanes team last year. He played in the postseason. He played meaningful hockey against the Florida Panthers. He's not a rook. He can play. He can quarterback the second power play unit. Braden Schneider, I didn't like what I saw from him. Never got the guys set, never got the guys going. It's not all on him, but that's just what I was focused on because I knew the Rangers had to have an answer for the quarterback on the second unit. Because Mike Sullivan keeps telling us about managing these workloads, keeping guys fresh for the full 82 and hoping to play beyond 82 well into the postseason. How are you going to do that when you're relying so heavily on Adam Fox? And make no mistake about it, Adam Fox didn't look that great tonight. It's not just Vladislav Gavrikov didn't look that great tonight either. So, we were here talking about the Rangers' bottom four blue line, but guess what? Their first pair, I know they only gave up one goal, the two empty netters, after that. But that first line, supposed to be the lockdown line, didn't look too great. They look good in the preseason, but, the first game of meaningful hockey, they still have a ways to go. They got to get their chemistry going as well. In terms of the chart, I find it hard to believe that Will Cooley was the worst player, on the ice tonight for the Rangers. It doesn't make sense. He was actually creating some havoc on the ice from what I saw, at least from the eye test. Maybe the analytics tell a different story like they do here. But Will Borgen, he was okay. I don't know if he was the best player on the ice, but Rangers have a lot to clean up. And let's not forget Dan Muse, on the other side for the Penguins with this young team. I mean, the guy didn't break a sweat. The guy came into the game, did not, we saw Mike Sullivan yelling at the team, angry. Dan Muse didn't break a sweat. He had his guys ready. The guys were buttoned up. They played, a good style, good brand of hockey. And the Rangers, with all these veterans, with all this juice, with all this expectation to bounce back and, have some pride, have some damn pride because, you're not too far removed from a President's Trophy. You got embarrassed. You got your rear end handed to you on a night-to-night basis last year, 11th in the Eastern Conference. I believe only the Penguins. The Penguins were one of the handful teams that were worse than you last year, and now they just came in to your building and they just ran amok. They just ran amok on you and embarrassed you in front of your home fans. The Rangers need to bounce back next game. I know it's only game 2, but they need to show some fight. They need to show some resiliency, and they need to win in Buffalo. They can't lose to the Sabres. You lose to the Sabres, Rangers Twitter is going to go absolutely bonkers You lose to the Penguins and to the Sabres. Who are you going to beat? You can't lose to those first two games. You can't lose those first two games, especially when you're trying to convince your fans that you're going to bounce back this season.
And to your point about Dan Muse as well, like the pressure was completely off the Penguins tonight. If they came in and the Rangers smacked them around on home ice, then the story would have been, oh, they're the Penguins, we expect them to lose, and the Rangers are off to a hot start, right? But obviously we get the opposite. And he was calm, cool, collected because the game went his way. And Justin Brazeau leads the league in goals now, who's a fourth liner, a guy who's been in the AHL for the majority of his career. Thanks to the Rangers. But that's interesting in that way. But you make a good point. You got to beat the Buffalo Sabres. You have to come in with some more gumption. You have to come in with that fire, right? You have to pretend like you want to be there. In terms of the chart too, I wanted to address that. I was just reading it a little bit as you're talking too. Most of the rating for Will Cooley is the team defense. So if you look there, JT Miller's right above him and was also bad. And Mika Zibanejad had a couple offensive chances, so that's why he's ranked higher. So I think it was just the line that was bad defensively that brought them all down, and that's why Will Cooley was the worst skater technically in terms of analytics. I think it was just more about the line than Will Cooley himself, because he actually had a pretty decent team offense and individual offense in this game as well, which nobody besides Mika Zibanejad had, because he had one really good wide open chance that he missed, and that's it. So not going to read too much into it, but we'll see how game 2 goes. But yeah, a lot of people are venting in the chat as well. I'm glad you can get that out of your system, because I know it's game 1, but it's frustrating, right? When it goes the same way that it went last year and we were promised different, it's upsetting, right? We get it. But let's not put that energy out there. We're not losing to the Sabres, not yet. But it will be a fun game to watch. But yeah, they haven't played like a total unit yet. I do want to give a shout out to Mark in the chat, because it seems a little level-headed, but I understand the passion. People wanted to win tonight. I understand it. And you're playing in the New Jerseys, right? Like, it's the 100th year anniversary, all of that stuff. You're on home ice, first game. You're playing your coach's former team. Get up for this game. Get up for this game. And the only guy who did, I think, is Igor Shesterkin at this point. So we will see what happens in the next few. But
Darius, I mean,
yeah.
I said it, in one of our videos, whether it was today, yesterday, whatever it was. I mean, I know I see the people in the chat venting about the bottom 6. And the reason the discussion has to happen is because I said it bluntly that the Rangers 2/3 of that third line, you were literally relying on 2 players to produce on the offensive end the way they did in 2022. That's what we're banking on. You understand that, guys? That is what we're banking on. There is no recent track record. The most recent track record you could go to for Taylor Radish and Connor Sheary was 2022. Are we being serious now?
Yeah.
I mean, how many goals are we going to get from Matt Rempe? Really? How many goals are we going to get from Adam Edstrom and Sam Kerrick? We know what their responsibility is: to be physical, to be a heavy, hard-hitting fourth line. And NYR Louis made a great point on X during the Florida Panthers versus Blackhawks game. And the Panthers were obviously able to find a way to win that game, despite not having their captain Barkov. But their fourth line that makes practically no money, finds a way to just constantly put pressure on the opponent, wear you down. They wear you down. And then once that first line and second line comes back on the ice, it's go time. But that fourth line in Florida wears you down. And that's what the Rangers are trying to do with this big, menacing fourth line. But the problem is that if you're not expecting to get much scoring punch from them, and Mike Sullivan is going with a 2-way, defensively responsible third line, then if you're not getting consistent scoring from the top 6, it's really all or nothing, Darius. That's what it is. It's all or nothing. Yeah. They don't have enough juice on the third line. I understand Noah Laba was a point per game player in the preseason, but that's all it is. It's the preseason. You can see, I saw it tonight how the pace, how the energy, how the physicality steps up just from the Rangers' last preseason game to tonight. You can see how much faster the game moves in the regular season. I know obviously it's an obvious statement, but I'm just saying by the eye test, you can see it just from one game to the next. From the last preseason to opening night, you can see the level of play speed up and intensify. So if we're going to put all our eggs into the Noah Laba basket, as much as I love the kid, we're not going far this year. That's just the bottom line. In the Metro division, which is quite frankly underrated, it's going to be a tough division. And like I said, if we're relying, putting all our eggs into the Noah Lava basket, we're not going to get too far, guys. We need to add some punch in the bottom six, whether it's from Hartford or outside the organization. I don't care what it is. But like I said, Mike Sullivan, he has to have a short leash. You can't let the trains get off the track.
Well, they tried outside the organization, and that resulted in signing Taylor Radish. And if what happened tonight continues, I don't know what to tell you, right? Like that's not an answer. I do want to say from the chat, and I want to go into what you were saying as well, because I had some observations from tonight as well, and somebody said it in the chat as well. But two things here that I want to bring to you, Bret, and the chat. And somebody said it earlier, and I don't know who it was, forgive me. But I also think Matt Rempe in the fourth line, just to, play off of what you were just saying, I thought they looked okay. Like, they're not going to score you 50 goals, right? Like, they have a role to play, and I thought they looked okay tonight. You're not going to win or lose a game because of them. You might win a game, actually. But, I don't know if you're going to lose a game unless Matt Rempe throws a pizza off the middle of the ice like he did in the preseason. But two things that I noticed tonight, and if it continues, it's going to be a problem. Vlad Gavrikov, great defensive defenseman. He cannot move the puck,
Right.
and that is a problem. So only Adam Fox can move the puck on that pairing, which is okay in theory, but then other teams know that as well. So that was already becoming a problem by the third period, where there was a couple times Fox was trying to throw it up, it gets blocked, it gets deflected, they're coming back the other way. Or Gavrikov was trying to move it, and it was going back the other way. It's getting blocked, deflected, and they're all out of position. I didn't understand why they were pushing forward so fast. Like, make sure the puck gets out first. The other thing, and I'll let you take that away in a second too. The other thing, and I'll throw it to the chat. Please let me know in the chat. Watching this team play tonight, because this is the roster, right? Like, there's no help coming from Hartford anytime soon, right? As far as we know, that's just the way they're talking about it. And Mike Sullivan said, "Oh, if you're playing really well, you might come up in November," stuff like that. Like, let's be real for a second, right? Looking at this roster, who is going to score goals? I'm not talking about putting up points for this team. Panarin, Will Cooley has to score 35 goals this year. That's
what I'm saying, Darius. That's what I'm saying.
Will Cooley legitimately has to score 35 goals this year, or they are cooked. Absolutely cooked. And Adam Fox has to have a generational season, which I love Adam Fox. I think he's one of the best defensemen still in the league. He would have to put up a generational season. So I'll throw it to the chat too, and over to you, Bret. Gavrikov, a little concerning. I think it'll get better. They need to get more game action together, more minutes together. Who scores for this team outside of JT Miller, Panarin, and you're banking on literally 35 goals from Will Cooley?
Yeah, it's odd. I mean, I like what I saw from Gavrikov early, and then he
Right.
got sloppy, just straight up sloppy, turning it over in the D zone late in the game. He had a really bad turnover, which could have put the Penguins up two. When the Rangers still had a fighting chance to come back in this game. Like I said, there were two noticeable turnovers in the D zone from Gavrikov, and that's unacceptable.
Yep.
Can't happen. Rangers brought him here to be responsible. They brought him here to play within Sullivan's structure, be a shutdown defenseman, PK, all that type of good stuff. And when you're turning it over in the D zone, that's not what we paid you for. That's not why you're here. We know you can't handle the puck. We get that. We know you're not going to score a ton of goals. We get that. But you got to be responsible. You can't be turning it over in the D zone twice when the Rangers are trying to claw their way back into a game down 1-0. Just can't happen. And like I said, Fox isn't exempt either. He was a bit sloppy tonight too, committing the Rangers' first penalty. He looked okay. He had some good moments. He had some bad moments, but nobody was perfect tonight. But like you said, Lafreniere, like what I saw from him, even Mika, right? Mika had a couple golden opportunities. He also had a breakaway opportunity when it was just him and Sleevoff one-on-one, almost put it between the pipes. But, when he missed it, the first thought I had to myself was not only last season Mika, but what I thought was, and when I say last season Mika, I mean first half Mika, basically half point per game player Mika before JT. I just thought that, watching Mika Zibanejad, it's sad, but it's true, that this player, he's never going to be reminiscent of the guy that he was in 2022, 2023. He's past it, guys. It's just not going to happen. Panarin is a bit of a unicorn. even at 34 years of age, you still expect him to
Mhm.
put up basically 90 points. You saw Crosby, that we're talking about it on the broadcast, 3 straight seasons, even at his age, of 90 plus points. But Mika Zibanejad, he's younger than Panarin, but it just seems like his best days are well behind him. It just seems like they're well behind him, and he's never going to quite catch that fire in a bottle like he had. It just feels like his numbers are going to continue to steadily decline. And it's really sad because he was a big part of these Rangers runs, and I really expected him to have a big year, have a better year than he did last year. I wasn't expecting the world. I wasn't expecting over 80 points from Mika, but I was expecting about a 10-point uptick from last season. It's not asking too much. I mean,
Yep.
he could still do it. He can still do it, but just that first thought, when he missed that breakaway opportunity, I was like, ah, man, like if this was a few years ago, he's surely putting that puck in the net. You just knew it. You just felt it when he had those golden opportunities. But now it's just hit or miss. Like you kind of have a pessimistic feeling when he has the puck, even in a golden opportunity. It's sad because the Rangers really need him. But like I said, it's only one game. He can still turn it around. It was good to see him active, putting pressure on the goalie, but until he starts converting some of these chances, I'm always going to have that negative feeling with Mika. And it wasn't a lack of effort tonight. It was just, I don't even want to call it a lack of skill. What I will say is he's sort of losing that touch. He's kind of losing that finesse. And
Yep.
when you think of Mika Zibanejad, you think of finesse. And it seems like he's losing that a bit here.
I think that's a good point. When you do think of Mika Zibanejad, you think of finesse. That's the whole thing where, he's not very physical. Like he's not like a playoff guy where he's bearing down on you. He's gonna hit you, stuff like that. Like he's gonna make these little touch passes, these area plays, right? Like that's what you're thinking about. And he has the touch, the finish, and he can make nice plays. Like he's an underrated playmaker. Maybe not underrated, like now at this point, but that is what you think about when you think of Mika, and that's kind of gone away. And he looked rough tonight. I don't know how to describe it other than that, because of last season as well. So that tough, some tough plays, that is for sure. I want to get into some stuff. A lot of people are saying, there should have been a rebuild. Tony, I want to get to Tony's comment here if I can find it. This team has no heart. It needs a complete rebuild, and they didn't do it. No playoffs. Mark my words. It is only game one. Let's, we're going to break down stuff, but it is only game one. Let's keep that in mind. But, I do think Hart has been called into question with this group, right? Let's be honest. But I think JT Miller is gonna, kind of try and lead the way. Some of the guys are gonna get better, right? I am worried about the goal scoring, where the scoring is actually going to come from. I am worried about that. But in terms of the work ethic, I thought the forecheck looked way better tonight than last season. It just did. There were times where you're like, oh my god, guys, let's get in there, right? Like there were times like that, that's for sure, where there was kind of lulls throughout the game. But for the most part, way better than last year. Last year was horrible to watch in that regard. So hopefully they continue to improve. Mike Sullivan also just said, another quote out from him, he's not going to panic. This is game one. He has hope that they're going to come together as a group. So I think we have to think about it that way too. Let's see where they're at in 5 games. This is a new system that they're playing to. A lot of the guys are used to something else. So like there was a couple times where they dumped the puck in, like certain guys would dump the puck in, like maybe Lafreniere and Mika Zibanejad, and I'm like, that's new. I'm not used to that at all because they usually would carry it in. But we'll see how that plays out over the next couple of games. A couple guys did look really slow though. I think Mika did, JT that did, even Panarin looked odd. He just looked off. He looked off, so maybe he's still injured. But I see a lot of disrespect for Adam Fox online and in the chat as well. A couple of times he shut down Sidney Crosby. He looked fine tonight. I think he looked okay. Everybody looked a little rusty, but again, I think the team did not have a chance to play together in the preseason, right? A lot of other teams had that opportunity, so this team did not have that. I do want to get to a quote from the man himself, the captain. He said that they outplayed us for the majority of the game, I think. So I would agree with that, JT. They did,
Thing.
I think. So
Yeah, that's what he said, I think.
he said that was the end of the quote. He goes, I think so. And there's the just scrolling Twitter a little bit to see what's going on. Gavin
Oh
McKenna
man,
is
that's typical JT right there.
yeah.
Honest.
So that's very, very interesting.
You only put up a donut on opening night in front of the fans, but I
Yeah.
he thinks they got outplayed tonight.
Yes. And Chris George brings up a good point. Maybe they should all shave their heads like Panarin did a couple of years ago because clearly it
Yeah,
worked.
the hair's not working for him. The
No,
hair is
go back to bald Panarin. I want bald Panarin back this season. Please bring me bald Panarin and also take a discount, please. That
that
would be really
man
nice.
was a menace, Darius. That man was
that
a
was that was a minute. That was 120 point Artemi bald Panarin. We need that Panarin back. I'm gonna get a bald Panarin animation going for the channel, but we need him back. But from what I saw, Fox skating, this is from Greg, looks a little rough, I think he said, and it's improved from last year, although that's not saying much. He's also dealing with a knee injury last year, especially towards the end, so let's keep that in mind. From T-Bone, Gavrikov can move the puck. I've watched him with the Kings for years. He's not even at 25% yet. He's a great defender in transition defense. The overreaction is ridiculous. Well, let me tell you, he didn't do it tonight. So, and he's being paid to do it every night. So, we will see what happens with that. But I do think there is like a grace period. Like he's gonna get acclimated to Adam Fox. They'll probably be fine. But I think that there was definitely a problem in this game where they were forcing it to Fox, and the Penguins were picking up on that. So, and leaving the D zone early. Every single defenseman. That was awful tonight. But you were gonna say something. Sorry.
Yeah. The fourth line, Darius, just getting back to that for a second. I
Yes.
mean, they were just looking at something here that, they were outshot heavily tonight. We said it, how much can you really expect out of that fourth line? I mean, how many goals are they really going to score? But, they were heavily outshot. Not only that, they gave up a ton of, great opportunities to the Penguins. There were a few 4-on-3s, there were a bunch of 4-on-2s that the fourth line allowed, and that's simply unacceptable. I mean, you're not getting paid to score goals, so you need to tap into that identity, tap into that frame. Like I said, this is a big line, this is an intimidating line, but you can't be sloppy. I
Yeah.
understand you want to hit people. I know you want to send a message. That was one of the things I liked tonight, actually, about the Rangers. I said there wasn't much to like, but they did out hit Pittsburgh by a lot, by at least a dozen. They out hit Pittsburgh, and that's something I noticed, right? So the Rangers, they played with snarl, they played with size, using that size to their advantage. They look bigger than Pittsburgh. Like I said, they had a couple teenagers out there, going up against the Edstroms and the Rempies of the world. It's not exactly a recipe for success for those young kids. I saw them get roughed up a little bit, take a couple bad hits
Mhm.
from them, but the speed was absent. We heard Drury, we heard Sullivan talk about it. We want a team that's going to be tough to play against. What happened to the no BS? Remember that, Darius? The t-shirts,
Oh,
the
I
whole
remember.
mantra, the slogan. What happened to the no BS, the no nonsense, the FU mentality? Was there an FU mentality tonight? I don't know. The Penguins look quite comfortable. Like I said, they have those veterans, but a lot of young kids on that team too. Sleeve off the goalie. I mean, look so cool and calm and collected. Like I said, you would have thought this guy was an all-star goaltender. Uh, so the Rangers made him look great tonight. Didn't pressure him nearly enough. But getting back to the fourth line, just to put a bow on it, they have a job to do. They have a responsibility on that fourth line to bring that identity. Every playoff team has an identity. What's the Rangers' identity? I've heard Sullivan talk about it. What does Rangers hockey look like at its best? Obviously, it's only the first game, so we have to have a bigger sample size to see it. But even just, throwing around some hypotheses here, I don't know, maybe you could tell me, Darius, because I
Yeah.
can't think of it. When the
Um,
Rangers are at their best, what kind of identity do they have? What kind of team are they? I just don't know. I just can't map it out. I don't know what their calling card is going to be when they're playing at their best. Is it just Panarin scoring a bunch of goals and looking like, a top 20 player? I don't know what it is.
well, this is the thing with the team this year as it's currently the current makeup of the team. We don't have a single idea what it is, right? We have no clue. Nobody does. I don't even know if Mike Sullivan knows. I think he has an idea of what he wants it to be, but I don't think we know. We don't, because if you think of the Rangers from a couple years ago, what was it? It's the power play, that high octane offense, right? Bang, bang, bang. That's gone. Chris Kreider's gone, right? Like a couple of guys are gone. And even when you were thinking of that, on the back end, you had Trouba, who would absolutely crush people. He's not here anymore, right? Like, the team has changed a little bit. So, things are going to be different, and we don't know exactly what that is yet. I hope we find it very soon. I hope that they do. And Mike Sullivan, that is part of his job. And what I thought it was going to be heading into the season, because you just went off on it too, is what happened to that no BS mentality. I didn't see any of that tonight. Zero. Absolutely zero of that, except for maybe one or two shifts where I thought like a couple guys were playing physical. And the first period for Lafreniere away from the puck, I thought was good. But then he kind of got discouraged, right? Which he does sometimes. So you have to keep that up. You have to keep that consistency up. So I liked that, and we talked about that earlier in the stream. But I thought it was going to be, we're going to come into the season, we might score a little bit less because Cooley's going to be in Chris Kreider's spot now and maybe scoring a little bit less than him. But we're going to have this no BS attitude. We're going to be hard to play against. I didn't see it tonight. And it is game one. It is game one. But if you don't bring that, because that was what the promise was heading into the year with JT as captain, right? This no BS attitude. We're going to score some goals. We have some finesse, but we're going to be really hard to play against. That was the biggest thing. And you're going to have a hard time scoring on our goalie. That, I think, is what they want the identity to be. But we didn't see it through one game. And it's one game. We will see. But if that's not what it is after 10 games, 15 games, I have no idea what the identity of this team is. And if you do not have an identity in this league, you've said it before, Bret. We've said it on stream during the summer. If you do not have an identity in this league, good luck, man. You're going to be picking top 5. Like, good luck, because you can't win in this league without any type of identity. That was the Montreal Canadiens' problem for years until last year. They found their identity. They made the playoffs. So if you don't have it, good luck. You'll be picking top 5. That's just the way I see it.
Just to go back, you made a couple great points there. Just to go back to the power play from earlier. One thing I want to say is that, I saw a lot of people commenting, whether it was on TikTok or X, or make sure you guys give it a follow. It's going to be in the description. The TikTok and the X, you can find us over there as well, as well as YouTube. But I was getting some comments, about my take when it comes to Vincent Trocheck, saying, how could you move this guy to the second power play? How could you do that? This guy is awesome on the faceoff. You can't do that. And I spoke about how JT Miller is basically a 60%, winner on the faceoff. That's elite in the National Hockey League. It really is. So, but Vincent Trocheck, this amazing faceoff guy, Darius, right? I mean, Rangers, the only goal Igor gave up, a golden opportunity for the Penguins, Brazeau, was Vincent Trocheck not being able to secure the faceoff. I mean, he wins the faceoff and he's not able to get to the puck. I mean, you see Urho Vakanainen and Alexis Lafreniere, we were giving him credit, but what were they doing? I mean, they completely bailed on the play. Their eyes were, focused on transition, getting into the neutral zone, that they totally left Brazeau unaccounted for. I mean, they left him right in front of the blue paint. It was literally Igor and Brazeau one-on-one, and that can't happen. I mean, Trocheck is going up against a rookie in the face-off circle. He wins it, but you can't secure the puck. I mean, that can't happen. And you saw what happened. The Rangers got burned. The Rangers got scorned. It was a beautiful goal by Brazeau, having to beat Igor there. But the guy was unaccounted for. There was nobody in sight. Vakanainen completely bailed. Lafreniere completely bailed, and he was very active tonight. But you can't leave a guy unaccounted for. You got to secure the faceoff when you win it. So for all this talk about Trocheck, being the best faceoff winner we've ever seen, I mean, it cost the Rangers tonight. If we're being quite honest, you got to secure the puck there.
Yeah, definitely. It wasn't his fault, though. I wouldn't say it was his fault. And I thought Trocheck had the type of game where, like, sometimes when I don't notice a player, it's because they're not doing anything really wrong, except for that one play. So he had one of those games for me. So I'm not going to pin that on him. But like you brought up, Lafreniere's got to get the puck there. He can't blow the zone like he did. He went like through the faceoff dot. So I didn't like that too much, but it's going to be interesting. I do want to make a comment about Sullivan and some of his comments, because some people in the chat are saying, as long as Sullivan didn't, and this is from Chris George, as long as Sullivan didn't say we had some good looks, right? And then other people are saying, it's obvious what he's saying in terms of, we got a long way to go as a team, right? Oh, that's the obvious answer. I like his answer tonight. I like it, because what if he did, Bret? What if he did come out on the podium after this game, 3-0 loss to his former team, terrible effort, we know everything that happened last year. And he was like, you know what? I thought there was some positives to pull out of it, which I'm sure he did. We didn't get the whole quote. I'm going to watch it later. But I thought we had some good looks and we'll go into next game and everything's perfect, right? No, he said this team, he didn't actually say this team sucks, but he said this team has a long way to go, right? Like, I like that. That's exactly what I'm thinking. This team does have a long way to go. We probably have a couple games here to get used to that new system. And there's probably going to be some growing pains along the way because you lost Chris Kreider, who wasn't great last year, but you've always been relying upon him. That is, a hole that needs to be filled. So I kind of like the answer. I think it was like, that's exactly what I'm thinking. I like when coaches say exactly what I'm thinking after a game, because I'm like, okay, they're not, being tone deaf with us. They're like, hey, this is what we saw as well. So I like the answer. But yeah, I don't know how you saw that too. We're going to wrap up here in a few minutes too. So get any last minute questions in the chat. But I don't know if you see that the same way with Mike Sullivan, but I appreciate it after a game like this because, you can pull some positives, and I like to be optimistic on the channel, even though, terrible loss, but I like it.
Yeah, I get it. But to be honest, I'm not going to take any victory laps or moral victory from Mike Sullivan stating the obvious. I mean, the guy has been around forever. The guy's won 2 Stanley Cups. I mean, he's been on the podium plenty of times. I mean, I'm happy he said what he said. I mean, because, here in New York, I remember, this is, gonna go back to a different sport here, this reference I'm about to make. But, a few years ago, more than a few years ago, when Eli Manning is still quarterback of the New York Giants, and they're at home at MetLife Stadium, and they get their doors absolutely blown off like 50-6 by the San Francisco 49ers. And Eli Manning, as great as he was, comes out in the post-game press conference and says, "Yeah, made some good throws. Made some good throws, had some good looks." I mean, come on. I mean, that's not what the fans are looking to hear after a 50-6 or whatever it may be blowout. So if Mike Sullivan would have went up there and said some nonsense, along those lines, it would have just made matters worse. I'm happy he said what he said, but at the end of the day, it matters what happens on the ice. I expect Mike Sullivan to be buttoned up, talking to the media. He seems to be very transparent with the media. The only thing he really hasn't been transparent about was obviously the Panarin injury, right?
Yep.
We still don't really know what he was dealing with. And like you said, Darius, he looked a little off tonight. I did like that, he looked like he was playing with urgency. Maybe he was limited. There's nothing you could do about that.
Just
But
trying to make plays.
I saw him trying to apply some pressure, put some pucks on the net and, just take some shots and try to make something happen, try to get a second chance opportunity, which the Rangers didn't get enough of tonight. But, there's no doubt about it. Panarin's banged up. There's no doubt about it. JT Miller is banged up because he was just non-existent. At least Panarin, like I said, I saw him shooting. I saw him trying to make things happen, even though he was limited physically. But JT Miller, I love him, but he was just non-existent out there. And to make matters worse, like I said, I didn't really like his quote, kind of
Mhm.
sarcastic, saying, I think we got outplayed. Like, come on, you're supposed to win this game. You're supposed to come into tonight with the energy, with the juice, with the passion, and beat the Penguins. It's not asking too much, right? They also have a new system and structure with the new head coach. The Rangers are expected to start off 2-0. They're expected to win tonight. They were expected to win Thursday night in Buffalo, but glass half full, Darius, right? Hopefully we bounce back. And next time we're talking, hopefully it's on a positive note because tonight there wasn't much to take away. I will tell you that.
No, not too much. And I like to remain optimistic on the channel and look at certain things, but it was a tough loss. It's a tough loss and a lot of mistakes, and especially in the defensive zone. And Igor was good again, but if you rely on him like that and he didn't have like a crazy workload tonight, but if we do get into the territory like early last season where it was like 50 shots a game and you're winning 2-1, like you're not gonna you're not gonna win many games. It's not gonna go well for you. We saw it last year. It's just not gonna work. But yeah, a lot of people are saying Miller looked off tonight. Panarin looked off, right? Like they did. Everyone kind of looked a half step slower. So we'll see what happens in the next game. They got to get used to the system. It's going to be a work in progress, I think, at this point, which we probably should have expected. But I was just excited to get the season underway and see if they came out with a bang because there was some couple guys getting new opportunities. Will Cooley, right? Stuff like that. Noah Laba, like shot out of a cannon as well. So that would have been fun to watch, and what Gavrikov is going to do tonight. And I think ultimately they'll be fine. Like that defense pairing clearly is the best one on the team, that's for sure. But ultimately, we'll see what happens. And I wonder if no BS ended up standing for no Braden Schneider on power play 2. We'll see if Scott Morrow gets the call at some point later on this season. But ultimately, disappointing loss. But thank you everyone for tuning in and throwing all your comments in the chat. Everyone who vented, appreciate that as well. And everybody who watches us, because we see it a lot, whether it's in this chat, in the comments, on Twitter, on TikTok. We're on TikTok now as well. We see it. People are watching every day, and we see you guys on Twitter too. I got clipped a couple of times and clowned last week. Appreciate you guys as well. But love all that stuff. But we appreciate all the support and everybody who tunes in every day to stay up to date with your favorite team, the New York Rangers. Really, really appreciate that. And we'll continue to keep you updated throughout the whole season. We're going to do more of these as well. Maybe not every game, but maybe, as many games as we possibly can. It'd be a lot of fun to get on those as well. But again, day to day, we're going to keep you guys updated with everything to do with the Rangers, whether it's positive or negative, because we were doing it all through the end of last season and it was not too positive, that is for sure. But we'll see. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Bret, any final thoughts? I was really hyped for this opening night. Obviously didn't go the Rangers way, but we'll be back tomorrow with some more updates, that's for sure.
Yeah, quick final thoughts. I mean, I just wanted to get this out too because I wrote it down during the game because it was quite staggering, which is the Rangers, I believe, were like 40, don't quote me on this, but it's something like 4-33-1 when they were trailing after the second period, if I remember correctly, last season. Yeah, it sounds pretty shocking. I know the number 4 is definitely correct, and then it was like 30 something losses and 1.
Yeah.
So the Rangers didn't show enough resiliency as we know last season. And, being down 1 goal, it's not that hard, especially on home ice, with the fans behind you against the Penguins. You think, all right, we're going to tie this thing up, maybe head to overtime and see what happens. But, they just never were able to create enough havoc. They were never able to create enough traffic, enough opportunity and second chance opportunity. And it just never happened for the Rangers. Even when they pulled Igor, I mean, they scored right away with the empty net. It was easy. And the last thing also is that, they also said this on the broadcast that, last year the Penguins, they only scored first out of 82 games. They only scored first. 33 times, Darius. 33 times. So the only team that scored less than them was the Nashville Predators with 30. So not good stuff. Only the Rangers, like I said, only the Rangers could make the Penguins, score, look great scoring first, make Slivoff look like I said, like a great goaltender, like Pecorine or whoever you want to name. So not a good night. Not a good night for the Rangers, but Thursday night in Buffalo, let's bounce back. Igor did look good, so that's good to see. Hopefully Igor can, he's part of the equation, Darius. As we've said, he's part of the equation. Get him back on track. We got to get the power play working. Come on, Quinn. We got to get the power play back in order. So game 1. I know I was ranting and raving a lot during this video, but I want to wrap it up on a high note. Let's look forward. We move forward to Buffalo. Hopefully some guys get healthy. Hopefully some guys get their legs underneath them. And we move forward. Let's go beat Buffalo.
Yeah, and always leave it up, like you said, to the Rangers to be the slump busters for other teams, right? So I'm sure we'll continue to see that through history. But again, like you said, let's leave on a high note. Optimism for the next game. We're going to keep you up to date with everything going on here on the channel. It'll be a lot of fun. But yeah, awful game all in all, but leave it behind. And hey, they started the season last year 6-0 against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Look how last season ended up. So maybe this is a sign. It might be the opposite. We'll end up in the playoffs. So we'll see what happens. But thank you everyone for tuning in. Everybody who left a comment, was participating in the chat. We're going to do more of these. We're going to go live more often, and we'll keep you guys up to date on the channel. Check us out on TikTok and X. The conversations always continue there. We're pumping out a ton of content out there on TikTok as well. That's a little bit different than the stuff we do on the channel. So go check that out. You can also listen to us. If you want to listen to us on your commute to work or wherever it is in the morning, we're on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts as well. So you can find us there, aside from YouTube if you're in a time crunch or something like that. So go check that out as well. All of that information's in the link down below in the description. So check that out. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and we will see you guys next time.